Hi. It's already been 1 year since I got my first creator points, which means time flies way too fast, but whatever, that's not the topic of this video. Today I'm going to show you happiness and how it's made, what was going through my mind when making it, and maybe give you some tips on how you can make your level better, and maybe you can get your first creator points as well. Let's get started. So the first thing, well, the main idea of this level was just to make a level without an end screen, because they were seemingly running my levels back to back, and so this level just ends with a huge white flash and then it just fades to black. So the first thing that I always start with, obviously, is the gameplay. I'm just gonna play it right now. This is not how the layout looked like at first, because the layout for this level is super old actually. I made this like in the beginning of 2021 or something, around that time when I was really demotivated to play this game. So also the most notable change in here was that there was originally a slope here that transitioned to the drop. I just changed that to the teleport portal because that just feels like a better transition. And also this part had much different gameplay before, so anyway. Now that we have the gameplay fully covered, this is the first part. Special thanks to Elvo, because he really helped me to get this level rated and overall kinda helped me to improve it after it's already released, but whatever. So this is all of the block design. It's basically just, so we have like the outline. I have no idea how to divide these. Is it just the base? These glow pieces are kinda outdated, but this part was made like 2 years ago at this point. So yeah, don't blame me for that. It just looks like this. And if you know, you know, but there is a Polish creator named Supris, and this was very inspired by him, to say the least. He was my favorite creator back then, and this is basically just a level built mostly in his style, let's just say that. So also, this is the first hint that I want to give you. If you're making movements for your structures, don't be bothered to make everything move, because one is gonna take up groups and make the level very unoptimized, and two, the level might become hard to read. So that's basically that. And this is made up of pixel blocks, and it takes up like a lot of objects, while this is the level's pixel font. This is basically the same font, just recreated with pixels. And we added two clouds because this part has a lot of clouds for no reason. This background actually changed. Give me a moment, I have an unfinished copy of the level so I can show you. So this is an unfinished version of the level, and also the beginning is probably the part that changed the most. But this was originally the background for the first part, and you can obviously see the massive difference between these two backgrounds. Yeah, you see that? That looks much better, at least in my opinion. Some people disagree, but I think it looks pretty neat. It just has some generated glow beams going to the song, and these beams were kinda a last minute thought. If I slow the song down, you can hear that they synchronize to the music basically perfectly. And as this note goes higher and higher, the brightness of this glow laser increases. I don't know if this was added in an update or not. It probably was, because this level was updated a lot. And this is basically the first part fully covered. Very Supris inspired. Also, I don't use these anymore because they are hella outdated. Anyway, we're getting to the first ball part, and probably the only ball part in this level. I don't really remember. First of all, this block disappears and it's just a black screen that transitions, and also the line doesn't fade out because I forgot to make it black. So this part feels very claustrophobic. This was, as I said before, this part feels like very close and it kind of feels cluttered a bit. But as I said before, this is from like 2021 when I didn't even play the game. Also the background group for this was 34, but I figured out this part would look better without a moving background, so we just spanned some bricks in here and thought it'd look perfect. It did. Trust me. So this block design is another super styled mess. Yeah, that looks a lot better than just... I'm not going to update this level because updates for rated levels should be for bug fixes anyway and not for decoration changes. There's nothing to really show here. These are just a bunch of saw blades that I made here and made them to copy and paste them around this part, even though this part is still really cluttered, as I said before. It's just more glow lasers, and then we get to this sick transition that some people actually praised, and I'm proud of myself, since this actually fits the song pretty well. And here we have this epic transition. That is truly epic. Let's see that again. By the way, this wall was supposed to be like... The spinning cube with the fire was supposed to be breaking through the wall, but that was just too much effort for me in 2021, I suppose. By the way, when you have this square wave in the song, let me turn off the UI real quick. This just goes white. The song. I love oversynced garbage for some reason. It just feels satisfying. So now that we have this transition fully covered, we have the breakdown of the song. I don't know what this part of the song was called. I'm not really into music that much anymore. So here we have probably the part that was the most changed out of everything, since it had added 2 colors of pulses, because before the first version of this level only had firstly the purple and then the green for the part, which, speaking of the gameplay for this part, I believe this was just copy and pasted because I was lazy. And this is one of the weaker parts in the level, which you can clearly see, since this level is 90 seconds long. It's 1.5 minutes. Oh, by the way, if you... give me a second. If you see these blocks move around, that was made by Elvo and not by me, since this level was updated a lot, as I was saying earlier. So yeah, this is just a very random design that I came up with. It ended up working. Also, originally this was... all of these blocks are pulsing now, but originally only some blocks were supposed to be pulsing to, so they would pulse to all of the notes in the song, like, and then the glow lasers would do at the metronome hit of the melody. Like when you have that part of the song, it was just supposed to make the glow laser, but instead these blocks pulse as well. Yeah, and that's basically it for this part. It has a lot of copy and paste, as you can see. So anyway, this part is pretty long, since... how many bars is this? This is 8 bars of the song, so it's pretty long. And now we get to one of the more infamous parts of the level, which is the build-up. And I don't know why I decided to make this glitch style. Glitch style was just the first thing that came into my mind when hearing this part of the song. Because everything is filtered, and it made me think, yeah, glitch style would work for this, and it did. It did so well. And then if I turn off the ground, this is basically what I wanna say here. Would want to anyways, because this level's gameplay is older than, can't really compare that to anything. Nothing comes into my head. Anyway, this was inspired by a WGT level titled Another, which you can clearly see over here, since I just made some text in here so it would be clear what I was inspired by. So there are just a bunch of spinning 3D lines in the background, and yeah, this is just, everything has very glitchy movement, including these arrows. They kind of, instead of making a spawn loop, I just made this huge mess of move triggers, which is 140 objects. Now we get to, I don't remember what this effect was called. I saw Woolsey do it once and I thought that was cool. So I made this card. I could make some gameplay here, but again, this layout is super old, and now the heart explodes and the level name pops up, and this is like the first level that I ever tried to do some major transitions on. And now we're getting into the drop. This is a part most of you probably want to know what I was getting into when thinking about this. If you play also, you will probably recognize this from somewhere. How do I even start with this? So this is like the halfway point for the level. So the pre-drop is just half of the level, and then half of the level is the drop. If you're wondering why these cards are here, if you've played also, you most likely know that, or if you're in the internet a lot in general, you might know that there is something called Hololive. It's just a group of VTubers, and some of them happen to be secretly referenced in this level, and nobody even noticed that. Even this, which is very obvious, but whatever. This part references Pekora. This influences Sakura Miko. This is Araka Rasha, which you can clearly tell by the color scheme. And this, which is the best part of the level by the way, is referencing Minato Aqua. So yeah, nobody noticed this until this video probably. So yeah, it's just very basic movements. And this is a transition I saw somewhere. Also, why I made a transition between these two parts, because if I'm gonna slow this to like 0.2, because this does transition rather quickly. Look how ugly this looks when I change the colors. Also, to get this glow color that I wanted, I had to mix 3 different colors in order to get the color I wanted. That was painful, and that made this part surprisingly unoptimized. So what else can I say? This took a total of like 1.5 years to make, and the moral of the story is, well, there are 2 actually. Take your time, the CP won't go away, I promise. That is a quote by a famous creator, TMN Gaming, who posted that on his profile, and I think that is, well, just the truth in general. I decided to not rush it, and it paid off eventually. And the second one is that inspiration can come from the least expected sources, like Hololive in this case. Also, I have to mention one more thing. Once I uploaded this level, I just tried mods so hard to send it, but nobody really liked it until Gasser, who sent it for a star rate, and it just made my day. I sent that to like everyone in DMs, and it didn't get rated for like another month or so, when 2KB sent it for a feature. There is a more likely chance for your level to get rated if it is on the front page of the Magic tab, which I believe this was, I don't know, because when this got rated I was sleeping. I just saw at like before midnight that 2KB sent it for a feature, and I was like super excited, and the next day I just woke up and I woke up to 5 pings on Discord that this got rated, and you can guess what happened next. So Raptop usually rates levels around midnight, of course midnight here in Poland and Sweden, and I don't know if Poland and Sweden are the same time zone, but I feel like they are. So since 2KB sent that like around 11:30 or something like that, I don't know, I'm too lazy to check. Then this ended up on the front page since it was a recently sent level and he rated it. So basically just try to get your level on the front page and you'll be fine. So the last thing I want to mention is the coin of this level. This was put as an afterthought, to be honest. If I go to the final part real quick, let me put a start position in here. There are just floating blocks in here, and I thought, oh wait, this would work as a coin path, and yeah, I feel like this is one of my best coins that I've made. It is very fair, very... you see that you have to go down on your first attempt, and you see that you have to fly a bit more carefully than normally to get this. And that is basically it. See you next time.